Hello, friends. You ever play an Oxygen Not Included and you just randomly scroll all the way up to the side and up to the left and over here, and you look in your ice biome and you say, "Sweet dripping earthworm nostrils, what is that?" Well, I'll tell you. Well, friends, this is an Anti-Entropy ThermoNullifier. That's one of the worst names in the game, but what it does is it cools any gas that is around it, provided that you feed it hydrogen. This is one of the okayest cooling options in the game. I guess if you're really low on options, you could check something like this out. If you don't believe me, let's start to get a setup going and we will prove it. Alright, it's a fight to the cooling. I don't know. Let's get this going. So on the right, our competitor over in this corner is the Anti-Entropy ThermoNullifier. Again, terrible name, but whatever. And it's going to go up against this AquaTuner and steam turbine. We're just going to be using hydrogen for both setups, and the hydrogen that we're using here is to power this whole setup. The hydrogen we're using here is just to cool and see how much cooling we can get from it. What we're going to be trying to cool is some water. We'll set them both at 27°C. They're both the exact same amount in terms of room size, so 40 tiles on each side. This is both 112 tiles of hydrogen at the same pressure. So these are two equally set up things, and all they're going to be doing is running off of the hydrogen that I provide. And we're going to find out with the cooling that we get, if the cooling is more worthwhile by spending our hydrogen by feeding it into this, or by powering stuff. And this is the only power source, along with the steam turbine, because we're going to get a little bit of extra power by running this, just by the nature of it. We're going to see which one does the best, and we're going to see when they both run out what the temperature of this water is. So I'm going to hook them up real quick. Let's get this radiant pipe there. And going to get this here. And by the way, thank you to whoever mentioned this. I had a couple people mention this new disconnect option. I don't even know it existed, but it is so good. So thank you very much for noticing that and mentioning that to me. All right, let's start this up and see what happens. Now they're both going. Gonna get the hydrogen up there to one side. So on this side, the ThermoNullifier is going to start consuming that hydrogen, and it's going to be exchanging temperatures with the hydrogen that is circulating through this gas reservoir. So this is just on a constant loop, and as the hydrogen comes in here and gets cooled, it will cool down the water by also exchanging its temperature with it. So we'll see where that gets to. If this whole thing freezes, then I guess we'll consider this a success, but we'll see how this goes. On the left side, we are just getting everything cooled here. I need to set up my settings here really quickly. I need to make sure that this is all going in there right, which it looks like it. Why is this not running? What am I missing? It says inactive. Oh, it's only if it's above. I had this done wrong. Okay, whatever. So on this side, we have some polluted water that's running into an AquaTuner. It'll be cooled by a steam turbine and the steam that's down here. And this whole setup is just going to be powered by hydrogen. So let's see which one wins by the time they run out, because I'm just going to judge both of them based upon how much hydrogen they use to accomplish this task. So we'll see which pool of water is colder by the time all this is done. Okay, it's been simulating for about 20 minutes. Let's see where we stand. The left side, we've used a good amount of hydrogen, about 4 kilograms per tile. Use way less on the right. Interesting. Definitely consumes it a lot more slowly. Let's see where we stand. On the right, looks like we dropped about 2 degrees Celsius in this pool of water. And over 20 minutes, that to me just says this is an extremely weak cooling source in terms of, like, bandwidth. Like, this is not going to be able to cool some of your larger setups in the game. Meanwhile, let's check over here. Yeah, we're way lower. We've dropped about 13 degrees on this side. Granted, we have used more hydrogen, but the point here is that this is so slow at cooling this down. The only thing this will really be able to cool is like a small maybe food setup or something like that. Whereas this can cool basically anything in the entire game. So, I don't know. It's a little bit of a trade-off. This doesn't use that much hydrogen, but I would still rather spend it on power if it were me. So, let's wrap this up in the following screen. Let's get to the report card. Let's go. Okay, let's rate this thing. First of all, when to use it, I would say mid-game. It's probably something you need some slightly advanced tech to start interacting with. Requirements, I'm going to say some form of hydrogen production. So that's either going to be the vent or the extra that you produce from your electrolyzers. Ease of use, I'd say moderate. It's definitely not super easy, but it's also not overly complicated. And the stuff that I post in the video is definitely things you can use that kind of minimize your power. Doesn't require a lot of automation, that kind of stuff. Practicality, though, I'm just gonna say it's not practical. Reason being, like I mentioned, is you're just better off spending your hydrogen on power and using that for cooling or anything else that you might link into power instead of this. So I gotta give it a final verdict of meh. That pretty much speaks for itself. Alright, see you later.